What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. This is going to be a short video updating my thoughts on NAIC. I did the tier list and archetype explanation video a few days ago. Yesterday was the meta discussion, and now it's just some further thoughts that I'm having on the meta. I might do another one of these tomorrow, possibly something Thursday, and then Friday is the tournament. But I thought that I would update everyone with what I'm thinking about and some possible meta progressions we might see. So the big thing I'm going to talk about here is there a triangle in the meta? Although it's not solely a triangle meta, and then why not just pick a tier 2 deck if they're beating the tier 1 decks? So this is the triangle I'm seeing, a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing. If you're not familiar, a triangle means that there are 3 decks that are prevalent in the meta, and they each take a favored and unfavored matchup to the others. So here we have Zapdos beats Jirachi Reshi, Turbo Reshi or Jirachi Reshi, which either you want to call it, takes a favored matchup to Green's Reshi, and then Green's Reshi takes a favored matchup to Zapdos. So the Green's Reshi doesn't play ability-based Pokemon, and it plays healing herbs, or mixed herbs, so it can heal when the Zapdos tries to two-shot it. They can take a one-shot eventually with Tapu Koko GX, but that's usually their only one-shot, and also it plays multiple Baby Volcanion from Unbroken Bonds, which is really good against Zapdos. Zapdos is hard for Turbo Reshi to handle because it doesn't play as many Volcanion, and it also needs its ability-based draw, and it plays healing via Miltank, but once Miltank is knocked out, they don't have healing. So that's kind of the triangle I'm seeing in the meta right now. And these are all popular decks. So like if you pick one of these, you're taking a loss to the other and then beating the other, essentially. Of course, you can still beat your unfavored and lose to your favored, but that's the favored and unfavored matchups that you're choosing to take. It seems like there's not a perfect deck for this tournament that has a better matchup spread than the others. Last year for NAIC, we saw Zoroark Garbodor come out of tier 2. It wasn't in the top triangle, and it took like 50-50s to everything and was able to come out on top. And then we also saw the Zoroark Control variant, which was a rogue deck at the time. So next we're going to talk about why just not play a tier 2 deck. So tier 2 beats tier 1. So Zapdos is beating Pikarom, Blacephalon, and Reshi on paper. Of course, you don't always beat them, but that's its favored matchups. So what beats tier 2? Well, Weezing's also in tier 2, and Weezing is very favored versus Zapdos. Stall is also in tier 2, and Stall beats Weezing and Zapdos. So if you choose to play Zapdos and you run into Pikarom and Blacephalon GX and Reshizard, you'll be having a good day, hopefully. But if you run into other tier 2 decks like Weezing and Lucario Melmetal Stall, your day isn't looking too hot. So it's a lot about what you expect to play against and what you're expecting to run into. And then it also comes back around to Stall because the tier 1 like aggro energy excel decks are pretty weird for Stall. They're very beatable, but you have to play perfectly and quick enough that you don't just get a tie. So the one tier 1 deck I'm leaving out here is Zoroark GX. So Zoroark GX, there's a lot of variants for it. There's Dugong, there's Slowking, and then there's Silvally. I think Dugong is better than Slowking because it is much more versatile, which Henry Brand talked about yesterday in the meta discussion video. Dugong, and then Larvitar to clean up, or Zoroark to clean up, or Persian to clean up after Dugong puts 60 and 60 on something. So Zoroark is favored versus Weezing and Zapdos. And then it takes 50-50 to slightly unfavored matchups versus Pika, Blacephalon GX, and the Reshizard variants. It does have text to deal with those aggro tier 1 decks, but Zoroark is always on the back foot because it has to evolve and has to draw into the pieces, whereas a deck like Reshizard just has to Kiawe and it's ready to go. But then Zoroark is unfavored versus Stall and unfavored versus Baby Blacephalon. So there could be a situation where we think Pikarom and Reshi are going to be the biggest decks. So a lot of people play Zapdos, but then Zapdos ends up being the biggest deck, so people play Weezing, Zoroark, and Stall to beat it. There could be, we think Zapdos is going to be the biggest deck, which makes people play Zoroark and Stall, so everyone plays Blacephalon GX and Reshizard to beat those biggest decks. It's really just a constant keeping yourself updated with what other players are thinking, metagaming correctly, and just a little bit of luck in the tournament, because people are going to be playing all of these decks. All of these decks will be present with the 1,200 to 1,400 people that I'm expecting. And so there's not like one perfect choice. I do think the best matchup spreads lie in Zapdos and Reshi and Blounds and Pikarom. I think those are the best matchup spreads. Zoroark Dugong might have a better matchup spread, but its consistency scares me. So technically, I guess I would say Zoroark Dugong has a really good matchup spread, but its consistency and the high roll of its draws and all the pieces you have to hit sometimes, and then a healing turn from Reshizard can just really screw you. All of these decks are great, is what I'm trying to say, except maybe Weezing. Weezing might be a little iffy, but it does take a really good Zapdos match, and you can probably get through day one with it against the tier 1 decks, aside from Zoroark. But I do think there's a triangle here, including 2 tier 1 decks, and the tier 2 deck being Zapdos. Zapdos is kind of making its way back up to tier 1 for this weekend. I do think that a tier 2 deck like Zapdos is a great choice, as long as people don't counter it too hard with Zoroark with a low on Muck and Blacephalon with a low on Muck, and then Absol Text for the Jirachis and Stall and Weezing. So Zapdos can end up having a pretty bad time, actually, if people expect it. Just like Zapdos did really well, and then the big GX decks had a pretty bad time in Origin special event last week, and at DreamHack, where Zapdos won both of those events. So it might be Aggro's deck's time to shine again this week in NAIC. We'll have to watch and play and see how it plays out. But those are just my thoughts that I wanted to update you guys with. I hope you enjoyed this quick little kind of on-the-spot video that I decided to do, and maybe I'll get another one up before NAIC. Be sure to check out flipsidegaming.com. Use code CELIO, 10% off of your next order, $10 or more. They have a great selection of sleeves and cards. Their Dragon Shields and Katana sleeves are very well priced. I highly suggest checking out their stock of all of their supplies. And I also write weekly free articles on there that do not have a paywall. You're welcome to read the whole thing for free, and I really appreciate you watching and reading the content. I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.